Are you struggling with hair loss? There are two highly likely culprits for this. Today, discover the shocking truths behind DHT overload and how you can go from receding to absolutely thriving. Welcome back to the channel. On this corner of the internet, we are passionate about holistic beauty solutions, homesteading, and personal development. So if any of that sounds exciting to you, please consider subscribing below. Today we're diving deep into the fascinating world of hair science to better understand the connection between DHT, which is dihydrotestosterone, and excessive hair shedding. What is DHT exactly? What are the symptoms that your DHT levels might be too high? What are the two leading causes, and what low-cost holistic remedies does science recommend? Now grab a coffee, or a tea in my case, and a pencil for jotting down these shocking truths. Testosterone isn't just for men. In fact, men and women carry the testosterone hormone. But what does that have to do with excessive hair fall? It turns out that it literally has everything to do with it. To fully understand DHT's havoc, we have to take a quick 2.5 seconds to understand some science, but don't worry. I'll be really quick. I don't like science either. It turns out that DHT actually attacks the hair follicle itself, which is where the hair leaves the scalp. These tiny follicle structures are responsible for producing hair inside each follicle. There are specialized cells called dermal papilla cells. I'll call them DPCs because I'm really not entirely confident that I'm saying that right. The DPC's job is to receive the body's signal to stimulate hair growth, which is where the DHT antihero enters stage left. DHT is good for both men and women, but it's only when the DHT falls outside of the healthy range and we start to see the symptoms that I'll talk about later in this video. DHT binds to special receptors called androgens, which are present at the hair follicle's DPCs. It's this binding process that starts the chain reaction of some serious shedding issues. Where excessive hair loss comes into play is that DHT can cause a process called miniaturization. This miniaturization causes the hair follicle to literally shrink and become more narrow. Small follicle leads to thinner hair coming out of the scalp, aka hair thinning. But what literally happens is that once that hair sheds, it's always thinner when it grows back. This cycle continues until that hair is so thin and weak that eventually when it falls out, it literally will not grow back. Okay, so the symptoms. It's important to realize that excessive DHT is reversible once you know the remedies that nature provides, which I'm going to go over those later on in this video. But here are some examples of what high DHT might look like as symptoms in your body today. Enlarged prostate in men, alopecia, polycystic syndrome, irregular menstruation in women, severe acne, hair loss, abnormal hair growth, obesity, infertility, and sebaceous hyperplasia. So this is the part of the video where I'm going to issue a huge disclaimer. I am not a registered medical professional by any means. I'm just a person on YouTube with really good intentions. And if you have any of the symptoms I mentioned, you should probably see a registered professional to take care of you. The symptoms that I was just talking about are obviously severe enough to know when you see them, but high levels of DHT are on a spectrum. So if something seems off based on the years that you didn't experience XYZ, investigating a DHT blocker really couldn't hurt. I'm only recommending things that are found in nature, so their potency has a cumulative effect and not an immediate one, like something artificial. If something starts to feel off, I really recommend you just stop taking it. But now that the dramatic portion of the video is over, let's move into the optimistic truth, shall we? Mother Nature's medicine cabinet has very gentle solutions that block the enzyme called 5-reductase, that is what converts testosterone into DHT, which starts the whole chain reaction of binding to androgens on the dermal papilla cell within the hair follicle, causing miniaturization, which is what we talked about. But when I researched why this might happen, I really wanted to narrow my search only to the things that we're doing in our daily life that are likely contributing to this. Like, I didn't want to know what is affecting 2% of the population. I wanted to know why tribes of people have gorgeous hair, but dense modern populations are calling age hair loss normal. I didn't want to hear that these were causing excessive DHT either, trust me, but it makes sense why so many of us are affected in one way or another. Before we jump into the culprits, I just wanted to quickly say, if you're new around here, you may not know my background, but I left a high-paying Fortune 100 career to instead follow my passions. I get so much joy from creating and researching content like this for you guys. If you'd please consider donating at the CashApp or Buy Me a Coffee link below, I would really appreciate it. It helps supplement my ability to grow this channel. Okay, back to the juicy stuff. The first highly likely cause for increased DHT is both shape-shifting, highly addictive, and in everything. It's refined sugar. I'm not really sure about you guys, but now knowing that I have to choose between the hair of my dreams and sugar, I feel like it's really rude. But according to the textbook of Trichology, a number of studies have found that the dehydrating effects of sugar actually affects your hair. Sugar of any kind creates a dissociation of insulin and the hormone testosterone. It's this dissociation that keeps the proteins from binding, which means more testosterone available for DHT conversion. If you had to split hairs on types of sugar, the research shows that fructose is actually the main contributor, which is found in highly refined sugars, but all sugars affect your hair. But in case you didn't know, because I definitely didn't, refined sugar is stripped of all of its nutrients and is downright unrecognizable to the digestive system. And so it binds to the vitamins and minerals actually already in your body so that it can be broken down and processed. So all the expensive multivitamins, they're actually being used to help bind and digest the sugars you're taking, which is also rude. Culprit number 2, the sunshine vitamin herself, vitamin D. Nearly 1 in 4 adults is deficient in vitamin D, or 1 billion people. It turns out that this specific vitamin is extremely important for hair growth. According to the textbook of Trichology, vitamin D controls the body's signal that tells a hair to grow at the follicle. So if you don't have enough vitamin D, then the signal gets lost and hair that sheds simply does not grow back. They go on to say that the best sources of vitamin D are specifically from fish like salmon, sardines, and mackerel. It's only a myth that orange juice has high levels of vitamin D. They actually fortify the juice when it's packaged, so it isn't actually naturally occurring. But for perspective, both males and females need around 600 IUs of vitamin D daily. 1 egg, there's 44 IUs and 40 in beef liver, but 3 ounces of salmon, you'll find 447. Isn't that crazy? But if you're not eating animal proteins, don't worry, because you can supplement with an over-the-counter vitamin. Now you know the 2 very common causes for high DHT, but what can we do in the meantime while our bodies are regulating? Because that's what I'm interested in. There are topical cures for this, and it actually really surprised me that so many plant medicines are being formally researched for their DHT regulation abilities. So I wrote down the most common 2 that studies show are really helpful. The first one showed the incredible reversal of alopecia baldness in nearly 60% of cases, and that is saw palmetto. Saw palmetto is a palm-like plant that lives in native Florida in the United States. The textbook of Trichology actually showed that this plant is commonly prescribed for hair loss because it acts as a 5A reductase inhibitor that blocks DHT. This supplement was pretty easy for me to find on the internet, but I just really warn against getting any of your supplements on Amazon because I just don't trust that site anymore with all the counterfeits that have been on there lately. And the second topical cure is none other than pumpkin seed oil. Who knew that the squash left out to rot after Halloween was literally the cure that we've all needed all along? But according to the book of Integrative Medicine, pumpkin seed oil has been shown to inhibit 5A reductase 2. It's very rich in essential fatty acids, among other things. So when it's used topically, one study found that 74 men with alopecia had a 40% increase in hair over 24 weeks. Pumpkin seed oil is generally considered safe, but just be sure you're taking a recommended dose based on your gender and your age. I, for one, will be using it topically in my pre-shower scalp oiling routine, but I'll definitely let you guys know how that goes. If you liked this video, I think you would also really like this video up here in the right-hand corner. But seriously, if you did enjoy today's video, I would really appreciate if you considered subscribing and liking this video, because it really helps the algorithm so that other people can benefit from researched content like this too. So like I said, all resources are linked down in the description box below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!